My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. That's the Ontario Police Department again. Stalking at the TABOR Professional Building. It's 12:36 a.m. That's called crossing path, stalking with the police, and engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge of the evidence against them in order to prosecute the state of California and the police department itself. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025. As you can see, the Ontario Police is flying over me in engineer light and doing so by helicopter. The entity is engaged in what is stalking, following from place to place. Aerial surveillance that the entity is engaging in, that's a plane. They're gang stalking as well. And what is pacing with the people of the state that are crossing path on the roads and the highways right now. Those vehicles, that's light activity and audible, in crossing path. So the entity that you see on video where the Ontario Police are gang stalking at 3:58 p.m. where the fake sun stayed over that Starbucks and the engineered light is flying inside of that cafe and the fake sun is over the top of that cafe where that fake sun remained in the morning and it was still in the same place at 3:58. That was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the Ontario Police Department engages in what is flying in a circle, stalking. In that specific environment, that's all that everyone is doing, including the Ontario Police, who are in substantial video stalking. The people of the state are in that video stalking with impossible light, and that's what they're doing driving on G Street right now, stalking with impossible light activity. The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with an ongoing, documented pattern with impossible light. There's my shadow right there, multiple shadows actually. And here's my shadow. It's up here as well. But the entity is maintaining impossible light. This is where they're skateboarding. This is where they're driving, where there are multiple shadows. This is light activity. I'm being molested with impossible light while the Ontario Police Department are stalking. While I'm remaining in the Starbucks, they're stalking ceaselessly through the people of the state that are remaining everywhere around. Let me put it, the state at 325 West G Street are stalking where they live, because the government's engaged in criminal surveillance with no warrant, no probable cause, and is engaged in what is gang stalking me, that is terrorizing me, while they're engaging in unlawful surveillance with the intent to obstruct justice, and you are prosecuted where you live. There's no shelter in these walls here. They're in the specific environment, and it's including where you live, you will be prosecuted. Period. It is currently 12:39 a.m. where the Ontario Police are providing evidence against the people of the state. L. Martinez and C. Torres. You have what is Nathan Morgan and B. Hook, who are going to federal prison for stalking because they're on video stalking while they're inside of Tracy Banks' apartment pursuant to criminal summoning. And it's the same Ontario Police Department that just flew over my head again, gang stalking in the specific environment. It is currently 12:40 a.m. This is P.O.C. License 8ZML815. License. This is at the Aegis Treatment Center where the Ontario Police were gang stalking me in the dark parking lot, and I had triple shadows. And as they approached in a parking lot across the street from the engineer light, swept across the wall on the opposite side of the parking lot, which is a terrorizing act committed by the demons who are gang stalking. It's a demonic pattern of conduct, and the stalking with light behavior is an act of terrorism that the government is engaging in, and so do the people of the state. They're doing it in Starbucks in front of your face all the time. They do it in the roads and the highways as well. They're all doing it under the fake sign 9PPV 956, 6LFS 662. And at this same Aegis Treatment Center where they are paid by the government to give drugs to the people of the state, and you wonder why you have a corrupt city gang stalking with a corrupt police department. But nonetheless, these demons are gang stalking, and I'm being molested while walking in the shade at 6 o'clock in the morning, where the entity is stalking with light, which is happening again. Like I said, the light's not shooting from their cars into the venue. That's supernatural as well. That's demonic, but that's not what's happening. It's coexisting with the demons crossing a path, driving on Euclid Avenue while I'm inside of Starbucks, and light is moving all inside across the walls and on the ceilings and dancing on the wall where the demons open the drive-through window, which is also not coexisting with vehicles moving. It's the light itself, which is supernaturally occurring. You are looking at demons engaging in demonic behavior right in front of your face, and they are doing it on video for their own prosecution and identification. While I'm being targeted with light, that I took pictures of it, and it's happening at 6 o'clock in the morning. This is the same location where I've been at in the middle of the afternoon, and I've been at Woodside Senior Apartments, where, again, feet away from being at Tracy Banks's Unit 51, where the entity kept the fake sun, reflecting it off of the windows of the building, the windshields and windows off of the vehicles in that parking lot where I'm located. This is the same impossible occurrence, and it's also highly illogical. It's very stupid. The entity has the fake sun over this same Starbucks where I'm standing, which is adjacent to the Aegis Treatment Center, at 7:26 in the evening, where there's light that's supposed to be attributed to the sun through that drive-through window that has an extensive cover over the top of it, and is far down to the ground. The sun would have to be on the sidewalk in order for that to happen naturally. This is very asinine. License 7KOZ048 is engaging in surveillance in that environment. Gang stalking, very obviously so as well. License 6LVH396, surveillance in the parking lot of Starbucks. License 5DNX602. While the fake sun that I'm taking a picture of is moving as I move toward what is Starbucks, 8MUK805, where I'm documenting the fake sun that's present. Like I stated before, Ontario police enter into the venue with a subdued fake sun as though it never was documented and it doesn't exist, because that's the deluded mind state that the demon-possessed entertain when they engage in criminal activity in the face of evidence which is going to create a surefire prosecution. There's no controversy or question regarding whether someone is gang stalking or not. The evidence is already present in their gang stalking. License plate 6LVH396 is a short, appears to be a dark brown skin male, perhaps Indian, Latino, looks to be wearing an Adidas jacket, short black hair, and is crossing path as I approach the parking lot, and he knows that he's been documented in doing so. License 8NCX147, making purchases at Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, where the fake sun is present right now. It is currently 6:07 a.m., where the entity is also, remember, I'm documenting a sunrise at my living room window in Los Angeles at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, 90026, where LAPD and the Los Angeles International Airport is gang stalking over the hillside in alignment to me. And engineer light is covering all of the hillside and the houses of the people of the state, which is not sunlight, and neither is that the sun. In the same way that this is not the sun that's still over this same Starbucks when I walk out in the middle of the afternoon, where American Medical Response is gang stalking in the Starbucks at 12:58 p.m. and the fake sun is 6 hours from now still over this Starbucks, where this demon 9311E4 is stalking with the method of flashing light, and crossing path is license 3516X3, is engaging in crossing a path as well. They're stalking. And they're stalking with the Ontario Police Department that flew over my head by helicopter, following me to the TABOR Professional Building. Flew over me by helicopter, following me, stalking my every move and monitoring my vagina as I walk out of the Starbucks at 10 o'clock at night. Stalking and engaging in surveillance at the Starbucks where the fake sun is still present 12 hours from now, like I documented at 6:18 p.m., where the Ontario Police is on video stalking, exhibiting mental illness by flying in a circle over me like they do everywhere that I'm at, when the psychopaths who are obsessed with stalking me everywhere and feigning to be law enforcement in doing so are openly engaging in what is stalking in their demons under an enduring fake sun that remains over a strip of land. As I'm outside of Tracy Banks' apartment now, less than a mile and a half, but it's not even that, 706 West Holt Boulevard, Starbucks, to what is the Tabor Professional Building. Less than a mile and a half, I'll give that. And the entity is keeping the fake sun. Look at my documentation from June 3rd until the present, June 15th, 2025. The entity is maintaining the sun from sunrise until sunset over a strip of area that is less than 2 miles as I'm documenting where I'm at, and I'm documenting the fake sun. This is the prosecution of the state of California. 97311E4 is a demon stalking with the method of light activity in front of Starbucks, which is a facilitating venue, and it is the guise for stalking in the path with light. It's 6:10 a.m. This is P.O.C. is all engineered light. Remember, I'm documenting this light activity in more than one Starbucks. It's impulsive light activity, and I'm also documenting this in the evening when it's completely filled with shade and the fake sun is on that side of the same Starbucks in the afternoon after it's remained for the duration of the day. It has nothing to do with the fake sun. This is the Asian male stalking with light activity 97311E4. Those that are not natural-born citizens are going to be deported. They clearly are recognizing the demonic pattern of conduct. You don't have to speak the same language. Demonic activity is not based on linguistics, not based on your place of origin, but those that are engaging in terrorism in the United States are not welcome to remain in the United States, and they will be deported. And they belong to and deported out of this country. They hate this country, and so do those that are natural-born citizens, gang stalking other American citizens and are hostile to enforcing your rights. This is impossible, absurd light activity. This is all activity creation. This is a molestation. This is all a molestation. And it's the same with the engineered light that's dancing on the walls when they have coming through the drive-through window, impossible light activity, and moving across the walls on the inside. It is P.O.C. and it's open engagement in that pattern of conduct. And you can see the entity stalking in perfect alignment with me, the fake sun, which is, by the way, not in alignment with Tracy Banks' apartment. While it's hunkered down low enough to be in alignment through the window, this is the same window where it's remaining at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10, 11. When I walk on the sidewalk, it's still remaining at 12, 1, 2. Where C. Torres is gang stalking under the fake sun at 2:47 p.m. This is the entity that's gang stalking where Corey Watson is under this fake sun at 9:16 a.m. Gang stalking right here in my face, communicating a threat as a kidnapper with this gang stalking police department and the people of the state. Doing so while the entity is maintaining this fake sun after 7 p.m. through the drive-through window. That is the documentation of what is more than 12 hours. It's 6:12 a.m., 7:26 p.m. That's more than 12 hours. The people of the state are stalking by maintaining presence. This is surveillance. This is P.O.C. This is 507 Euclid Avenue, providing the evidence against the state of California. It is currently 6:26 a.m. and you're seeing the same exact pattern of impulsive light activity. And remember, the entity that is showing you the impulsive light activity, it's directly regarding the mental illness that is closeted by the demon-possessed who are engaged in criminal surveillance and the targeting system that is gang stalking. And the more ridiculous, the more spectacular, the more outrageous the light activity, it's a direct indicator regarding the mental illness that is closeted by the demon-possessed. They don't want you to know their condition, and they also don't want you to know about their mental illness, closeted hostility, concealed corruption, and criminal conduct, sexual perversion, etc. And the impulsive light activity is filling Starbucks, by the way. The entity engaging in bathroom monitoring, that's the purpose of having a fake sun over the venue for 12 hours. It is for the stalking purposes and the perpetual sex offense purposes of the population that's maintaining presence in the cafe on behalf of the state while they're gang stalking as a corrupt business with the demon-possessed patrons, gang stalking patrons. It is currently 6:27 a.m. The impulsive light activity is that which is on its face inexplicable. The horizontally aimed light that creates an upright shadow on the inside of the Starbucks is not explained by the entity admitting that the fake sun is in alignment to the same Starbucks where it's remaining in alignment until 7:26 p.m., which is on video. The entity maintaining the light source is also impossible to coexist with the environment where LAPD is in maintaining helicopter activity, gang stalking in the specific environment in Los Angeles, where I'm documenting, like I stated, the sunrise through my living room window as well. This is the obvious identification of the stalking purposes of the entity in that supernatural environment. This is P.O.C. Federal stalking, and the bathroom sex offense of bathroom monitoring is also underway while the demons are walking in engineered light under a fake sun, and the walls of light fill the venue. It is 12 hours for it to remain. And the entity engages in this also as you document, and which is Providence because they show their mental illness more and more as they engage in it. P.O.C. Pay attention to the Ontario Police Department, the helicopter activity. Their mental illness is more and more obvious. It is currently 6:28 p.m. Excuse me, 6:28 a.m. Hi. Hi, I'm Erica. You're Alex?
Yeah.
Hi, Alex. I want to order. So I have a question. I know the refills with the hot tea and is it coffee as well?
Coffee as well. Yeah. You could do hot coffee or iced coffee.
Okay, but I was gonna ask with the I'm guessing it's not with the teas or the. I mean, it does say teas, but the iced teas.
Iced teas. Yeah.
So like if I were to, is the
like a green tea, like a black tea, and we also have passion tea. Could do that too.
Is the passion tea the one that comes in that with the dragon fruit in it or something?
No, that one's the mango dragon fruit.
Is it cold?
It's cold, but that one isn't a tea. It's a refresher.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Did you refill those?
No,
Oh,
unfortunately,
I
no.
thought you said you did.
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay. I was gonna say that's exactly what I want. I'm gonna go ahead and try the refresher anyway. I want one. A tall.
That's all.
A tall refresher. Isn't there like an option to get like lemonade, I guess, instead of water? Or something?
Yeah. If you want to do the mango dragon fruit lemonade or the one with water, you can do either or.
Well, is there another flavor besides mango?
Yeah, we also have our strawberry acai refresher, which also comes with the lemonade or with water option. And then we also have our summer berry refresher right now that comes with lemonade as well. It has like both like pearls at the bottom.
That looks good.
You want to do that one?
I don't know, too many options.
I know. It's like too much.
It's not the mango that I want, and the one that I used to get is purple. It was purple.
Oh, the dragon. We also have a dragon drink. That one is the mango dragon fruit with coconut milk. So it's like purpley. It's really good. It's really popular. Do you want to try it?
I guess I'll try it.
Yeah.
Hi, Elena. There's Elena, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess it's busy. Yeah, I guess I'll get a tall. I'll try the regular dragon fruit one, the purple. I don't want mango.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, it comes with mango in the actual base, like in the mango dragon fruit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as it's purple, that's all I remember is that it's purple.
Yeah,
and
it's
it has
purple.
okay.
Yeah, it has little like dragon fruit pieces on top. Yeah. Do you want it with lemonade or do you want it with water?
Water is fine.
Yeah. And you said a tall, right?
A tall, please.
Yeah.
And can I also get a cup of? Well, that has ice in it, huh?
It has ice in it, but do you want ice on the side?
No, that's fine. It has ice in it.
Sounds good.
And I think that'll be it for right now.
And can you remind me of your name again?
Oh yeah, Erica.
Erica. Okay.
Yeah.
With a C or a K?
With a C. Of course, there's no way you would know that. That light activity says otherwise, though.
Okay.
It's coexisting with crossing path on Euclid Avenue.
Yeah. Do you stay around here?
This is audible activity. No, I'm in here every morning, though. I mean, I'm in here every day. I've seen you before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh, wow. She put a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Alex is monitoring, and so is Elena. And you've seen them under the fake sun, and so this is very easily documenting the people of the state working at Starbucks gang stalking under a 6 a.m. fake sun, and they're on their shift in the middle of the afternoon, gang stalking with the Ontario police, and communicating a threat while I'm ordering a drink, and impossible light activity all over the face, all over the walls, all over the menu, while the demon-possessed gang stalkers of the people of the state are crossing path on Euclid and Elena, and the demons are maintaining presence on the side through a conversation. They're surrounding. In the engineer light, they're stalking, and that's psychopathic conduct as well, maintaining that passive-aggressive means of stalking in the path, and including the business of Starbucks in order to do so. Good morning, Elena. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Good. Have you been helped already?
I have. Thank you. All right, so it is currently 6:33 a.m. That's documenting the business itself, Starbucks, that's engaged in gang stalking, and it's all happening in the specific environment, and that's a federal offense, as you're going to be you'll be empowered to ability to prosecute the establishments who are representing the people of the state that are engaging in facilitating the government's criminal engagement in surveillance, and what I'm documenting, sexual violence, and doing so with regard to the pattern of conduct that the government is necessarily including and requiring the people of the state to participate in. The government can't do it without the people of the state. The people of the state have to make light activity. They have to move around in that environment. They have to engage in use of their communication device in order to cooperate. And they do so as demons. But it's understanding, prosecuting the people of the state for their criminal engagement. They are directly engaging in it and facilitating it, and so is the government directly. It's 6:34 a.m. Remember, the entity's keeping the fake sun over me, and not only in Los Angeles in my apartment, aiming it through as though that's a sunrise, which I documented routinely, and also during the same time of year for the duration from inside and outside. Well, yeah, before and after daylight savings time, from February until, the end of January until July of 2024. And the entity is maintaining the fake sun as I'm documenting every hour of the day at Woodside Senior Apartments. And as I've documented Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, documenting the fake sun at every hour of the day. This is 6 a.m. Until 7:26 p.m. on video. That's the entity maintaining that light source. And as I remain for the day, I'm capturing videos, substantial video documentation, establishing every hour of the day the fake sun present at one address, which is removing Florida from ever having the sun in the state of Florida, from it ever being in Sacramento, from it ever being in Nevada, from it ever being in Riverside, California, just to give you an example, while it's remaining over 507 North Euclid Avenue, aimed inside of 507 North Euclid Avenue, where it's not in Los Angeles, in perfect alignment with this window at Starbucks, while it's present in that manner. This is the pattern of conduct. It's 6:35 a.m. Is that mine? Thank you. Yeah. You got to. All right. The people of the state, gang stalking, engaging in bathroom monitoring. License 8YXA270. Latino males gang stalking, license 8WUV772. Impossible light is shooting all through the Starbucks where they're monitoring me, engaging in terrorism, license 8FDC450. While they're in the drive-thru, they're in relevant position to where I'm at on the inside, and they're simultaneously surrounding me with impossible light activity. This is terrorism and psychological torture that Starbucks engages in with its customers on behalf of the gang stalking City of Ontario, including the Ontario Police. 7THX757, 5VOG870. Remember, these Asian females gang stalking 8YXA270, they're engaged in monitoring my vagina coming inside where the entity is filling the Starbucks with impossible light. As you listen to me speak with Alex and order a drink, impossible light is shooting all over the place, and these women are gang stalking me, terrorizing and psychologically torturing me with the demons in the drive-thru, with the demons that I'm speaking to ordering a drink, engaging in what is simultaneous terrorism as you listen to Elena, as you listen to Alex take my order in its audible activity, relevant positioning, and light activity. It's P.O.C. It's 6:36 a.m. and they're all engaged in monitoring my vagina while the fake sun remains for 12 hours. All right, the entity that includes the demon-possessed corrupt company, in reference to, of course, not the business and not the business logo or anything like that, but the people that make up the company. They're demon-possessed and they're engaged in gang stalking, and they are together as an entity engaging in federal stalking with the intent to obstruct justice, and also because they're merely embarrassed by the level of documentation and evidence in the investigation of the U.S. government engaging in criminal surveillance and gang stalking me while surveillance is underway in concert with a demon-possessed population, the people of the state. And they're doing so while the evidence of it is ongoing, and the entity is removing the evidence that's published on the video of the internet. So this is the very embarrassing evidence, which is June 11, 2025, where the entity is gang stalking by the Ontario Police at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. And I go into depth with exposing the reality. The entity engaged in, first of all, an unlawful eviction with the Ontario Police Department and gang stalking at Woodside. And they also did so for purposes of kidnapping. And the entity also did so with the intent to kidnap while I am now released from kidnapping at Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. That's the specific purpose of engaging in that, and why they want to gang stalk me outside of Tracy Banks' apartment to commit kidnapping, and while they are engaging in criminal surveillance, and that is exercising fictitious authority. The entity is doing so, which is what I am documenting on June 11, 2025, where the Ontario Police, who you see stalking every day as a department in the specific environment, so there's no question no reasonable question at all about who is being targeted by the Ontario Police and who is targeting me with the Ontario Police, which are the people of the state, under a 12-hour fake sun, for example. And the entity is removing this podcast that I published on June 11th. Again, I took screenshots of it. It's criminal conduct that the entity is going to be prosecuted for. Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook. subject to federal prison with regard to the ongoing documentation, which is relevant to their prosecution for kidnapping, as the department is gang stalking and the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance and the entity is on the venue of the internet aware of documentation for purposes of prosecuting it and then removing it as from a published state. It's public and it's made private so that you can't see it on the venue of the internet. It's currently 6:47 a.m. That is published online as well. P.O.C. All right, they're driving an engineer light, license 6PZR000 and 9NVL731. They're gang stalking. And that's, again, monitoring. It's also monitoring when you walk in and you're being accosted with impossible light activity, which is what this demon is doing when she's walking in and engaging in gang stalking by purchasing 9MNY176, walking into the venue. There's the fake sun. There's the fake sun right there, and it has nothing to do with the impossible light that's shooting inside when a terrorist enters in, engaging in federal stalking. And here's my shadow. This is all impossible light, the sound of the train while she's pacing around the vehicle, and that's engineered light on the ground over here. This is gang stalking 9PES087. They're in engineered light. Let me show you my shadow. They're all stalking. This is impossible light activity. All right, the entity is maintaining methods of light while they're stalking and terrorizing me with impossible light activity. 9MNY176 is stalking with light and is a terrorist and is stalking me as opposed to focus on purchasing products from Starbucks. Okay, the sound of the train is facilitation. That's how you know that they're intentionally in the environment, gang stalking together, as well as the impossible light activity. And opening and closing the door creates light activity. Here you go. This is impossible light activity. Absolutely impossible, and it's demonic. And that's a terrorizing threat posed by Starbucks again, in addition to the light activity that you've seen all over the walls, all over the ceiling, the impossible light activity that you've seen around the bathroom, communicating a sexually violent threat, while the demons are engaging in psychopathic pacing. All right, here's all manner of light activity as well. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:48 a.m. This is the entity that's systematically engaging in terrorism, stalking with light, stalking in the path. This is the demon that's gang stalking by staring at the menu while you have all the light activity. This is gang stalking 101, P.O.C. It's currently 6:49 a.m. This is a pattern of conduct shared by psychopaths, P.O.C. All right, the people of the state stalking with impossible light activity while pulling up to the curb in the dark gray BMW, entering into the path and even waving at me, aware of focusing on me when there's nothing indicating that I'm concerned about you. In the same way that they're in the environment as though it doesn't exist, and that they're in operation of their communication devices as though they're not engaged in surveillance and not stalking with light and not gang stalking and terrorizing with the Ontario Police Department. I don't know if I'm capturing images, but I'm not looking at him. But he's engaging in waving. License 9 Charlie Victor Nancy 290 is engaged in stalking with light, just like the Asian female with the white vehicle when entering and exiting the venue, with impossible light activity, because light does not shoot off of the door onto the inside of the building, nor on the outside. Sunlight does not shoot and ricochet in alignment simultaneous with your car in the street when it's driving. And also it doesn't plant itself on the ground on the inside of the building. Sunlight doesn't also at the same time then ricochet off of the windows, off of the building where the people of the state are driving in it. This is all evidence of them gang stalking. It's evidence of the intent to do so as well. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:01 a.m. All right, it is currently 1:30 p.m. and in the images that you've seen uploaded to the Google Drive, the people of the state engaging in the same stalking with light conduct, which is harassment and psychological torture, and it's also sexual violence. The entity is molesting with light that is supernaturally occurring, which is an admission that they are stalking in the first place, and it's demonic. This is the entity that's gang stalking, that's showing their demon possession in doing so, and they're doing it at state action. It's at the same Starbucks, 507 North Euclid Avenue, and as I'm documenting the entity that is, for example, parking where Tracy Banks is parked at 1:30 p.m., she is gang stalking with the also hostile Raquel, who enters into the venue crossing path where the fake sun is remaining, as I documented during the 6 a.m. hour, the 7 a.m. hour, and it is currently 1:30, and the fake sun remains over the entrance, as though the sun takes 6 hours to cross the street and be physically over the top of the building. It does not. This is where the fake sun remains, as you know, at 6 p.m., 6:18 in particular. The Ontario Police are gang stalking by helicopter and crossing path on the same streets, Euclid and E Street, while the fake sun is over the same entrance. So it's an illusion with regard to the shadow of the building that just moves in front, and the fake sun is still over the same building. And it's a very unintelligent and asinine and obvious engagement in the pattern of conduct while that supernatural ongoing event remains. Raquel is targeting me with Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740, who is engaging in the same psychological torture, the same harassment, the same terrorism, and this is the same kidnapper that acted with the Ontario Police Department. She does so at the moment, not coincidentally, when I am on my website that this entity is keeping under surveillance and all of my evidence under surveillance, and with simultaneity to working on that podcast where you can hear her actually in quite a frenzy, frantic pacing. And you can hear me very calmly on May 29, 2025, trying to figure out what is it that she is talking about while she is speaking gibberish, essentially, not explaining what she's talking about and not wanting to go into detail about all of a sudden the police all of a sudden and nothing happened. She just walked in the door and she is upset. And this is somebody that engaged in criminal summoning. So this is what I'm working on. And this is at the same time that Tracy Banks pulls up at the facilitating venue and I am being accosted with impossible light. She is a demon and she is engaging what is terrorizing me with the rest of the people of the state, not different. Raquel crosses path, sharing in that infliction of harm. Very maliciously, like she is with everybody else, and it's notable that Tracy Banks is engaging in it. She enters into the venue, gang stalking, and the Ontario Fire Department is seen crossing path. In doing so, as I take a picture, Tracy Banks is sitting right by me, gang stalking with the City of Ontario, just like she is on May 29, 2025, and the Ontario Police are stalking on video at 7:23 p.m. Tracy Banks is present at the venue, again, feigning to be in when I am not soliciting her presence. She is, when I'm in the midst of documenting, for example, she'll text me, "Did you text me? Are you trying to call me?" And I'm not. This is a psychopath that is aware of what I'm documenting and wants to try to be a distraction, but it's also a means of federal stalking, surveillance, monitoring me. When I don't ask her any questions, I have not asked her, "Oh, can you please help me? Can you let me back in the apartment? Can you come buy this for me? Can you come get me a Starbucks card? I'm not doing any of that. She is actually soliciting me, and she's doing so monitoring me. So, like I said before, she is not doing me a favor. She has not been doing me a favor. My life has remained under threat while in her apartment, subject to this pattern of conduct that Starbucks is engaging in, improving what Tracy Banks is doing with the Ontario Police at Woodside Senior Apartments on May 29, 2025. The City of Ontario is crossing path in the fire truck. The City of Ontario is crossing path over my head by plane while the fake sun is over the same venue. It's 1:33 p.m. It's P.O.C. Monitoring me and harassing and terrorizing me with the demons that are pacing on Euclid Avenue and the demons that are inside of Starbucks making ongoing amplified racket while the demons are pacing behind and in front of me to the bathroom. So this is being paced around on the inside and on the outside, being molested with impossible light. A fake sun is sitting 7 hours over the building, and the want to be clear, Starbucks is going to be prosecuted. This Asian family, this Asian group is inside of the Starbucks, and they're driving a white SUV. The license plate is a Wyoming plate, 33357. This is P.O.C. for ongoing psychological torture. They're doing what everybody else is doing, and this is 6 hours in on behalf of the City of Ontario, P.O.C. What you will notice about the Asian group that is in this white SUV, just for purposes of identification, because it doesn't matter, black-faced demons are in here monitoring me. Tracy Banks is black and she's monitoring me. Black people are demon-possessed in California, gang stalking with law enforcement. There's no Black Lives Matter genuine movement out here. So anyway, the entity is engaged in terrorism as they walk by into the bathroom and out of the bathroom, both the employees and the demon-possessed patrons alike. The demons that are making the drinks, making money off of domestic terrorism, are slamming things. That's the demonic synchronicity. This is ongoing harassment. They're also doing it while they know I'm documenting it. They're doing the same thing with regard to the demons that are driving on Euclid Avenue. As they drive by, I'm being molested with impossible light. This is what the employees are sharing in. Raquel walks in crossing path as Tracy Banks drives up, and I'm being accosted with impossible light that you've seen dancing on the walls, on the ceilings, including while those demons use the drive-through window. That's the benefit of being a psychopath and not understanding how the evidence that you present without any self-control is going to be used against you, also to show that they're demon-possessed while they're engaged in what is unprecedented terrorism in the United States, gang stalking me. The entity is doing so with regard to the demons in the drive-through. They remember surrounding, so they're on the both sides of my person, pacing all around. This is psychological torture. It's harassment, it's domestic terrorism. It's also sexual violence because they're also giving this undue attention to my vagina when I'm in the bathroom, and they're pacing. They're flinging light all over the place, and they're stalking with amplified noise, which is also maintained in the bathroom, where there is no legitimate interest either by the government to keep your genitalia under surveillance and what you're doing in a private space. Another out-of-state license plate, the demons know that they're being documented. This is Utah, S589AV, a black Buick, Cadillac, and impossible light on the sidewalk while she drives forward and backwards. That's pacing. And she's also doing so while I am documenting. This is a psychopath that's engaging in the P.O.C. with Starbucks and goes in, purchases a drink, and walks out. This is demonic pacing while they're conducting purchases. And this is the city of Ontario doing so. Remember, the entity is keeping the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments, where Tracy comes to Starbucks today and participates in the P.O.C., which is showing, like I stated, what Tracy Banks and Woodside Senior Apartments is doing pursuant to kidnapping in that specific environment where surveillance is underway and knowledge about the absence of any violence when such false allegations are made, not just lying, but maliciously doing so in order to engage in a kidnapping with the purpose to defame my character. The entity is doing so, and the evidence of criminal surveillance is what is adding to time in federal prison for the Ontario police, who are going to be disbanded. All right, the entity is gang stalking at the Starbucks now and sharing in what is psychological torture together. This is with the stalking with light, the stalking with audible activity, and stalking in the path. This is psychopathic behavior, which is very disturbing as you're subject to it. And while they engage in that, while they know that they are being documented, that's a stalker that is maniacal, and that's a threat to your life. For example, engaging in what is kidnapping you while they want to obsessively stalk you inside of a facility. That's the entity that's going to federal prison for that. It includes Tracy Banks, who comes to the venue to engage in the pattern of conduct. That's how obsessed with me that she is. She wants to pace around. This is, again, pursuant to an impulse, a demonic impulse. So she comes and participates in pacing around me, stalking in the facility with the rest of these demons whose name I don't know. And that intent to do so is these fake sun remaining for 7 hours over this venue. So you're talking about 6, it's currently 2:09 p.m. The fake sun is over Tracy Banks' apartment during the 2 p.m. hour, where the demons of unit number 41 would walk by on the sidewalk and their shadows would appear behind them into Tracy Banks' apartment on the living room wall. Absolutely demonic and absolutely impossible. It's the same pattern of conduct underway inside of Starbucks, where the demons are driving under the fake sun that's remaining over the venue, specifically over the entrance where I walk, because as I go to the back parking lot, like you saw on video with AMR gang stalking yesterday, American Medical Response, that fake sun deviates from being over the entrance and then it's over the back parking lot, which is a substantially different position, by the way. But nonetheless, the entity is moving that fake sun remaining over me, which is what's happening at Woodside when the people of the state are gang stalking on that sidewalk where that fake sun remained over Tracy Banks' unit 51, and their shadows would appear behind them inside of her apartment on the living room wall, the east living room wall, which I substantially documented. That's where the entity is stalking, and they're all stalking inside of Starbucks. You are stalking when you're monitoring at your place of work. You will be going to federal prison for monitoring with the police, engaging in a pattern of psychological torture and harassment of a federal nature in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. That's why you're going to federal prison, because you're not just stalking, you're gang stalking, and gang stalking is underway by the government with the conspiracy, the purpose to murder someone and the purpose to kidnap someone, because Starbucks is doing it routinely and with impunity and maliciously with a whole population and the government. That's subject to federal prison, including with Tracy Banks, a kidnapper. That's a threat to me. And Raquel shares in that engagement, in that pattern of conduct. She is a psychopath. Literally, her hostility and her aggression is demonstrated in my documentation of her stalking in the path with light, stalking in the path with amplified audible activity, stalking in the path with sensational activity, and also avoiding eye contact, engaging in this passive-aggressive show of a monstrosity with regard to level of hostility toward me while this demon is stalking, and doing so representing a corporation that I'm going to drain the pockets of, Starbucks. And remember, commercial actors, you're going to civilly and criminally prosecute them. And that's with regard to disincentivizing the people of the state, providing a basis for a government to keep American citizens under surveillance and make money while doing it. Because that's exactly what Starbucks is doing. This is what Avanath Capital Management is doing. So I want to document that this Asian group walk in and out of the bathroom. The Starbucks personnel, they're all engaged in what is teamwork. So they're stalking together with light, they're stalking together with audible activity, and they're all stalking. All they're doing is walking back and forth under the fake sun. They're pacing to the bathroom. They're pacing to get their drinks. They're pacing back and forth from the parking lot. They're pacing on Euclid Avenue. They're pacing in the sky space. It's all centered on me. That's why a fake sun remains. These are the demon possessed. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 2:12 p.m. All right, you're looking at the same pattern of conduct, different faces, same demonic spirit, same P.O.C. These are psychopaths that engage at every move that I make. They start dragging the furniture around. That's called stalking with audible activity. And then you're also witnessing mental illness because they do it with a straight face. I mean, there is no way to inform about stalking somebody and then not looking like you're stalking, or the best way to not look like you're stalking someone and not look crazy. The point is that it's their pattern of conduct and it's very psychopathic, and that's the purpose of stalking through strangers, because it's supposed to maintain that outward appearance. But we're getting into the substance of the thing, and so we've already proven that the gang stalking is underway. That is unmistakable, and that is literally irreducible evidence. They're sitting under a fake sun with a straight face, so you're getting to the point to where you're going to dissect the mindset behind that type of behavior, engaging in this irrefutable evidence of what is stalking, targeting. So you're looking at the impossible light activity, and you're dissecting the behavior of those that engage in targeting and conducting themselves, behaving themselves in that way. That's when you're recognizing the psychopath. And you're also recognizing what is a lot of propaganda that you've been told about mental illness, because you're witnessing actual mental illness, while the people of the state who are demon-possessed, a condition that they don't want you to know about, and who are stalking, behavior that they don't want you to recognize, they don't want you to know about, stalking in ways that are demonic, that are unheard of, where people are engaging in activity around you and it's pursuant to what is following you, what it is that you do as you do it, including on communication devices, which is pursuant to surveillance, and it's also the government's engagement as it shares that demonic pattern of conduct with the people of the state, where Satan is maintaining ongoing surveillance, and it's affecting internet operations, it's affecting devices and whatnot. You're dissecting that behavior, and you're looking at all age ranges. You had adults bringing in their teenage children yesterday. You have the people of the state bringing in infants and toddlers to engage in pacing in the engineered light. You have the people of the state that are over 60, 70 years old. Woodside Senior Apartment shows you that. Tracy Banks shows you that. You have the entity that's engaging in what is, like you've seen the state, but there's nothing new about the, I've been exposing the gang stalking, demon-possessed police for years. It started with the government, by the way. So I am showing you the people of the state with regard to what is a mass population that's of the same condition. And that takes a lot of evidence to do that, and I have a lot of evidence that's already proven that. And it's impossible that you would even be able to collect the level of evidence that you have in a consistent manner, and it be anything other than that. That's impossible, and it's also impossible to be a coincidence. So the entity's engaging in this P.O.C., and you're looking at psychopaths that literally are deciding, they're taking shifts, in other words, with stalking. They come in and they're maintaining presence in the path, they're maintaining activity, and literally as I get up, these two old Latina women start dragging their chairs with regard to following my movement, and it's very psychopathic. That's the demonic synchronicity. And then they sit and they're maintaining a conversation, and they're actually not even focused on each other. They're focused on what I'm doing and even what I'm saying, knowing exactly what I'm saying. And that is also proven through the impossible light activity that they're sitting in, conversing, the fake sun that they're sitting under, and the entity is again in that regard. While they're all stalking in that environment, they're all monitoring in that environment, and that's already proven. Then you're getting into dissecting the behavior of the sick entity that is engaging in this P.O.C. That is the unpersuasive demeanor of the demon-possessed. The living dead, who do not appear alive, they do not appear normal, they don't appear disinterested, and that's what you're supposed to be seeing, that's what you're supposed to be persuaded by, but that's requiring you to be ignorant. So you're not ignorant about the environment that they're in, and you're also not ignorant about what they're doing as they do it. And I give you details about that because you need to understand mental illness, actual mental illness, and you need to also understand what is demon possession, all right? And demon possession doesn't have an age. Demon possession doesn't have a race. Demon possession doesn't speak a particular language. Demon possession doesn't live in a particular region. Demon possession is a spiritual condition, and it is something that is manifested, as I've shown you in the evidence of the P.O.C. It's manifested in behavior, and it's also recognized that it is shared in an environment. That environment defies the natural way that that things work, the natural environment, such as light flying in the air and skating across ceilings, and your shadow appearing above your head and having multiple shadows, and the natural circumstances do not explain how that is happening. This is speaking to the demon possessed, okay? And the demon possessed, they lack self-control. The demon possessed are also not they're not prepared to answer what are the natural repercussions, the consequences for the satanic deeds that they've been engaged in, and targeting people and relying on illusions and then being held accountable to those illusions with regard to the inability to merely just say, I don't know, or I don't know the target individual, that the entity is going to be prosecuted for what is a beyond a reasonable doubt that pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in what is a very highly malicious and psychopathic and sexually perverted P.O.C. And it is showing the entity's mental illness while they engage in and derive what is the purpose is supposed to be torturing another person. And I'm showing you how the entity is actually very pathetic and very sick while they engage in this against the ordinary target individual that quite doesn't understand, and also is very likely to react in one way or another, which the entity intends. That's why you engage in satanic means of targeting someone. That's why you engage in psychological torture through the police who are surrounding you everywhere that you're going, even though they're not addressing you. That's psychological torture as well, as you become aware of it. And this is what you're documenting. The entity has used all of its satanic tactics on me, and they don't work. It's happening because I'm exposing it, and I'm also going to prosecute it. But it's for informational purposes. It's for educational purposes. It's for enlightenment, because Satan is real, and the aggression of the demon-possessed entity that's targeting people, targeting American citizens, because this isn't just happening in America, but targeting where I'm at in California, in the United States. We have a constitution, and there's a legal framework in order to prosecute this, because it's also government action, as opposed to just a random satanic sex cult or coven. It's the government that's a part of this cult. It's the government that's practicing demonic activity. It's the government that's targeting. So the entity is engaging in this in America, and there is a way to prosecute it under laws that exist and laws that shall come into existence based on the level of malice and the ways of corruption that the entity is engaging in and relies on in order for this corrupt system to operate. So, for example, the entity that's gang stalking the government itself relies on the people of the state to cooperate in order for them to have entryway, and that's because of the Constitution. So therefore, for criminal summoning to work, the entity, the people of the state, have to summon that gang stalking police department. They have to summon that gang stalking fire department. They have to summon that gang stalking ambulance in order to engage in what is a reason for them to be engaging in the elements of monitoring in the ways in which they do, sounding their sirens. And being at the venue, the so-called private residences of the people of the state. And the entity is going to be prosecuted because private and public are actually, they're not irrelevant, but they are irrelevant insofar as the prosecution, because they're irrelevant insofar as the categorization of what is a facilitating venue. And both private and public properties, the entity is maintaining the fake sun, the engineer light, the amplified audible activity, direct and vicarious action. So you are going to be prosecuted, period. These are constitutional limitations, which is serving to exploit the whole purpose of the Constitution. It's not to enable a civilization to target other American citizens, and it's certainly not for the government. In other words, what that means, it's not for the government to exploit the Constitution in targeting American citizens, because that's what the people of the state are. They're in the shoes of the state in exploiting the Constitution. So the entities engage in this P.O.C., and that's what's relevant with regard to the picture of these two demons. They have to be at least pushing 65, and they're dressed in old dresses, like you would assume that they garden, or you would assume that they came from Sunday service today. But they're necessarily, if they did, they went to Satan's service today. They were hailing Satan's name. They were summoning demonic spirits, and then they came in here to partake in the satanic ritual of stalking with light and stalking with noise, while they dragged the furniture in the restaurant with regard to simultaneity to my getting up and walking around, because I was going to pick up something off the floor. And the moment that I do, those demons, again, knee-jerk reaction, and that demonic synchronicity is because of demon possession. They have spirits on them, and those spirits are literally using their bodies. So you're looking at people that are demon-possessed as I'm documenting them, and the demon-possessed are engaged in criminal conduct. So Satan has engaged in what is using government, using a people who are accountable under the Constitution, state and federal, and they're going to be prosecuted for it. And it's also exposing their mental illness, and their mental illness in many ways is it's not a defense. It's certainly not a defense, because the entity is aware of what it's doing. Malicious psychopaths know exactly what they're doing, and they're also even aware to a degree of the impropriety of it. There are varying degrees of it. Those that, when you have such a seared spirit, then you're getting to sociopathic, you lack a conscience, you don't feel anything at all. But the entity knows what it's supposed to look like. That's the whole purpose of the malicious system. That's the whole purpose of gang stalking through old biddies inside of the Starbucks. Okay, so psychopaths know what's supposed to be appropriate, what it's supposed to look like, and it's supposed to look like the target individual is making things up. We are far beyond that. The entity looks like the psychopaths that they are. They also look entirely crazy with the light activity. They all look like the demons that I told you that they are under a fake sun that's sitting over the building. And then these idiots come and sit inside of the building like you are forgetting that, and they sit around and, oh, let's just chit chat and nothing is going on here. That's delusion, okay? That's the entity that's delusional, and so is the police department, so is the fire department, so is the airport, so is the Ontario Council members as well, the government itself, and the entire exposure of that system, in addition to the entity that's going to federal prison for this very system. This is the entity that summons the police for no reason whatsoever, and also for upon making up information. So there is no reason, they make up a reason, and this is how you get kidnapping, like I was subject to by the people of the state, and doing so with the gang stalking government, who was engaging in the same P.O.C. that was underway when the Ontario police were stalking at Woodside in the specific environment. This is what Starbucks is demonstrating. This is what Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is engaging in, kidnapping. This is what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in, kidnapping. And this is what the people of the state at Starbucks are demonstrating they're engaging in, hence kidnapping, all right? It is 2:28 p.m. where the psychopaths, who are the people of the state, are stalking while light is flying in the air, and no sane person is in that environment and acting like it's not happening. No sane person is actually in that environment because you're gang stalking. So, in case you did not, this is what this means. Federal group stalking and monitoring, the demon possessed who are gang stalking are not sane. These are mentally ill psychopaths. So they are all sharing in that mental illness, and it's being exposed, and they're also hostile about it, which is getting to their psychopathic antisocial disorders. And they're manifesting. The more that I document, the more hostile that they get, the more that they demonstrate their mental illness, and it is exhibited through the light activity, which is why I show you. And this is when you see the entity gang stalking in helicopter, because they're so infuriated by the damning video that I capture, and the entity exhibits mental illness in doing so. The inability to control themselves, that hostility, that aggression that is built up at a climax because of what it is that I'm exposing about them, and it is entirely incriminating while they do so as well, in addition to what is my documentation that is unilaterally incriminating the entity. All right, it's 2:29 p.m. Raquel is gang stalking in concert with Saul, and the entity is gang stalking as of 2:29 p.m. Literally every hour of the day. The fake sun never deviated from being over Tracy Banks' apartment, and it's the same with Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. The entity is surrounded with evidence while the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking in the city of Ontario, while all of the center of the universe is me in Starbucks, where satanic light, which is serving for harassment and terrorism by Starbucks, who represent the people of the state. But the entity is, in other words, gang stalking at this venue, and doing so while I remain at this venue, because like I also documented, when I walk down the street to the Ontario Ovid Family Community Library, where you see the Ontario Police Department gang stalking from my walk from one venue to the other, shown in the 12:51 p.m. video on what is June 13, 2025, there's no sun that's remaining over Starbucks during the 2 p.m. hour. I'm already at the Ovid Family Community Library, and the sun is not some ubiquitous presence. Obviously, it's not ubiquitous because it's not over Chevron while it's over the roof of Starbucks, which is across the street from Chevron. It's not over Arco, and it's also not over what is Alvarado Gardens in a natural environment. But I documented that last year at the same time of year, where in a natural environment, that's where the sun would be, and it wouldn't be over this roof with these two old Latina biddies gang stalking, taking time out of their day from crocheting, and then coming in to gang stalk me while they're dragging around furniture to the movement as I move around, and while engineer light is flying all about, and they're exhibiting shared mental illness in doing so. Okay, so it is clearly malice. That's what you're getting to. That's what's the description of. And this is, by the way, contrary to what Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, this is how you actually define and support the presence of mental illness, as opposed to name calling and having no specific facts or information in order to support, under the Welfare and Institutions Code, the presence of mental health that is causing a danger to oneself or others. The entity is actually the one that is suffering from mental illness, but it's not schizophrenic, it's psychopathic. The entity intends to inflict harm to another. The entity is engaging in psychological torture. This is the purpose of gang stalking, doing so with the intent to torment another person and also utterly destroy their lives and all of their life circumstances and relationships. This is based on their condition. It's evil, but it's criminal. But it is evil. Understand that there are demons that are engaging in that. And this is actual evidence that is supporting, with specific facts and information, mental illness based on the behavior of the entity. And this evidence that is going to prosecute the entity is going to be used to diagnose them as well. It is currently 2:31 p.m. This is P.O.C. at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the fake sun is remaining, and the entity is stalking as a population, working at the venue, and also stalking by presence in the path. And at Starbucks, it's occurring under the guise of making purchases, and they're all stalking together. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is 3:13 p.m. The people of the state, license 8T YG281 4ZJB340, license 6XDN034, paper plate NH85237, license 8NXD292, 7PUH473. License 7HBB520, license 22155N3, license 8YLG507, and license plate 8MHP068. This is the people of the state engaged in what is the ongoing escalation and aggression, if you will. The entity's impossible light activity becoming more concentrated, more exaggerated, more demonic, more terrorizing and psychologically torturous, based on my documenting right now and publishing the evidence about the kidnapping that Tracy Banks and this same entity, including the Ontario Police, committed. And the Ontario Police is engaged in this demonic pacing on Euclid Avenue, where the impossible light activity is attacking me pursuant to criminal monitoring. So it's not just the fact that you're being harassed by light, it's you're being monitored. And the entity is engaging in what is that harmful behavior while monitoring you with the intent to psychologically torture you, harass, and terrorize you in an effort to obstruct justice. They're engaged in federal stalking. Every single license plate, that's a federal case. They're doing so while they are engaged in what is monitoring the evidence that is being created on the venue of the internet, and they're engaged in monitoring together, and that coexisting escalation of that impossible light activity is based on knowledge about what it is that I'm documenting. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking right now, hovering over E Street. It is currently 3:15 p.m. This is the Ontario International Airport, gang stalking, far deviation. There's no planes taking off over here. There's also not a natural environment where this sun would be over the same Starbucks. This is a clear indication regarding targeting by the entity. This is, again, my documentation of the people of the state. And as I document them, the entity engages in what is aerial surveillance with the intent to obstruct justice, harassment, terrorism. These demons are gang stalking while I'm being accosted with light. License 9CVF229. License 8JGW873. License 8SVT219. And the entity is gang stalking with the city of Ontario. Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook are going to federal prison. They're gang stalking with the city of Ontario that's using planes and helicopters to target. They're engaged in what is psychological torture and harassment and domestic terrorism by stalking with impossible light pursuant to monitoring, federal stalking under the federal statute, Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2, pursuant to knowledge regarding the specific content of what I'm doing online with regard to this kidnapping that this same entity that's gang stalking under a fake sun that's over the same entrance that it was. Remember, during the 6 a.m. hour, it was merely across the street while I was inside of these doors. It is currently 3:17 p.m. This is the entity gang stalking with clear evidence of it. License 40664W1 in concert with the city of Ontario. And the entity is gang stalked with this impossible light that's moving on the outside of the building, and it's also occurring on the inside. Those are demons. License 8EOH706, engaged in state surveillance. This is P.O.C. Raquel is inside of the Starbucks gang stalking with the employees and the patrons alike, engaging in what is harassment and terrorism as I enforce my rights. And the Ontario Police are going to federal prison for it. This is impossible light. Well, you see that? That's P.O.C. That's what's touching my person when the demons are being psychopaths, engaging in that terrorism together because they're all hostile about what I'm publishing online. And it's absolutely supernatural. And if the entity is doing so with the intent to obstruct justice, and they are subject to federal prison for what they're engaging in the same way that they engage in what is kidnapping as well. It is currently, again, 3:18 p.m. The demon possessed under a fake sun and that engineer light. And this is where the fake sun was aimed on me this morning at 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9, 10, 11. It's 3 p.m. and the entity is engaging what is psychopathic targeting in concert with the Ontario Police Department that's going to be disbanded. And this is demonstrating mental illness, actual mental illness, through the impossible light, through the presence under the fake sun, through the psychopathic means of targeting. And this is P.O.C. This is the corrupt business practices of Starbucks, who is also going to be civilly and criminally prosecuted. It is currently
3:18 p.m. The people of the state are documented on podcast as well. I went into video to show you gang stalking shared by the city of Ontario, who was targeting by flying, deviating far from Terminal 2 and Terminal 4, 2900 Airport Road. There's nowhere near E Street where you would see the logo, hear the plane, be hovering over this venue. But you also know that the sun doesn't sit over one building, which is a pattern of conduct at Woodside Senior Apartments, which is a pattern of conduct at Alvarado Gardens, where I'm living at this time of year, where LAPD is sharing in the same exact pattern of conduct. And you have what is the entity that is gang stalking with impossible light, the admission of demons who are also stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. The entity is engaging in the entity is doing so with knowledge of the fact that the kidnapping that this government committed with the corrupt population, the people of the state, is being published on the venue of the internet, which is relevant to the ongoing terrorism that the people of the state share in while they're gang stalking, and all of the city knows where I'm at, and they are stalking together as a corrupt entity. They're also the sex offender that monitors my vagina in the bathroom. This is P.O.C. Okay, the video you just listened to, I just broke into video to go ahead and capture that fake sun. And this is the same venue where I was at this morning at 6, where the fake sun is over the same building. So I'm standing inside of it. You're looking at the employee this morning in engineered light preparing drinks. She's monitoring right in front of your face. And this is, again, the prosecution of the corrupt company Starbucks. And I'm at the same venue. I'm showing you the fake sun at that 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. It's been 9 hours. And the sun is over the top of my head at the same address. And you're looking at the demon possessed that are stalking under that fake sun. That's the significance of recognizing that environment. All the entity is doing is stalking all around me and stalking with impossible light. You could see it dragging across the outside of the building, and you can see it flying on the inside. You can also see it across the wall where the demons, who are the employees, monitoring as a part of the business of Starbucks, which is public corruption and also against public policy. They're going to be civil and criminally prosecuted for it, but they're doing so with the government. And so that's the basis of federal prison. They're doing it in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, not just a corrupt business. It's not just bad profits. It's not just, it's relevant to a RICO case, but they're acting in furtherance of murder and kidnapping, and this is why they're facing federal prison. But I want to be clear, you're looking at the behavior, the demons that are engaging in this psychopathic, demented, and satanic conduct, targeting one person together, and they are all proven to be targeting in that environment that none of them are ignorant about. And this is the same pattern of conduct shared by the people of the state at whatever venue it is. So this is what the entity is doing while I'm living in Los Angeles under the fake sun and LAPD is targeting. This is what the entity is doing while I'm remaining inside of Tracy Banks' apartment, Unit 51, where the sun's not going to be over Starbucks. I wouldn't see it, and vice versa. And the entity is engaging in what is stalking as a community, like as a group. It's group stalking. And so is the government that flies over the intersection far from the airport. And so you're looking at the behavior, which is, again, showing you mental illness as opposed to being oblivious to what I'm talking about. You're looking at the demon possessed, and you're also looking at raging psychopathic disorders that are working over people who are targeting together. And this is shared by, again, those that are doing so under the guise of being employed. And the focus is gang stalking, and that's why you have the sun over the building for 9 hours. The entity is engaging in this while it's also relevant to federal prison for Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, L. Martinez, and B. Hook, as well as Tracy Banks. The entity is engaged, and Jason Isaac Fields, the entity that is targeting, the entity that's engaged in things such as feigning a marriage with me, a fraudulent marriage in furtherance of murder and kidnapping while I'm being gang stalked. Tracy Banks summoning the entity that is gang stalking today while I'm in Ontario. This is the pattern of conduct that they were engaging in when she is the people of the state summoning, even coming to the Starbucks, gang stalking at the Starbucks, is engaging in that P.O.C. And while I'm documenting this, while I am working on publishing the details of this kidnapping, this is when the entity is engaging what is, if you will, turning up the volume of the amplified audible activity, of the impossible light activity. That is, the environment becomes increasingly terrorizing, increasingly harassing. The behavior of the people of the state becomes increasingly psychotic, increasingly disturbing, including while you see on video them laughing in that engineered light. Those are demons and those are stalkers that are monitoring by virtue of that behavior. Their activity creation is specifically the method of laughter. Their activity creation is specifically the method of engaging in what is conversation while the engineered light, which is demonic and terrorizing, is underway, while the fake sun over the building for 9 hours, which is terrorizing and communicating an unlawful threat, especially while you're documenting it as the federal prosecutor. And they're choosing that method of activity creation, and they're all achieving monitoring and doing so. And they have sorely missed the purpose of it, to appear as though that they're ignorant about the target individual, innocent, and it doesn't appear that way, and it doesn't look that way, and it's not that way either. I'm showing you at the same time the evidence for diagnosing and the evidence for what is a prosecution. The entity is doing so with regard to Starbucks. That is, again, the venue that's going to be prosecuted, and they're doing so on behalf of the government that's being prosecuted, and it's directly relevant to the gang stalkers who are stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments on May 29, 2025. And again, their names who are subject to federal prison, especially for gang stalking with the people of the state. This is the entity that summons them. This is the entity that they rely on to engage in kidnapping, and they are relying on them to engage in terrorism, to engage in sexual violence, to engage in psychological torture, to engage in things such as stalking with light and stalking with under the fake sun on the government's behalf in close proximity, and doing so under the guise of a wildly corrupt and satanic system, which is Starbucks. But again, Starbucks is just where I'm at. Chevron is gang stalking, Arco is gang stalking, the Unicare Medical Center is gang stalking, the Ontario International Airport using commercial planes, clearly deviating from taking off from Terminal 2. The entity is gang stalking, and that is also relevant to the prosecution of the state of California. But again, Nathan Morgan, badge number 21887, is going to federal prison while I'm subject to terrorism and harassment and ongoing targeting because I am prosecuting him, I'm documenting, I'm exposing his corrupt conduct as a gang stalking officer who committed kidnapping on May 29, 2025, and that's why he's also subject to federal prison. This speaking to this public corruption that the people of the state are sharing in with a gang stalking police department who is incentivizing corruption and violence against a woman and doing so, but it would be violence against any person. But I just want to be clear, these demons are targeting a woman. They're stalking a woman in the middle of the night. They're stalking a woman in the bathroom. They're stalking me everywhere that I'm going. And they are also engaging in ongoing violence while I'm enforcing my rights against them and their satanic means of stalking. This is why Nathan Morgan, badge number 21887 of the Ontario Police, who is stalking on video at Woodside on May 29, 2025 at 23 p.m. He's going to federal prison, and so is B. Hook. B. Hook's badge number is 80551. It's their criminal activity which is serving to further harm me, further inflict me to such damage, incalculable harms, which the entity is going to be civilly and criminally liable for. And the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department is gang stalking, stalking with light, right in sync with the airport, with the fire department, with the demon-possessed population that I'm documenting while I'm remaining at the venue. So this is, I just want to be clear, B. Hook, C. Torres, badge number 21370, is gang stalking under the 2:47 p.m. fake sun, like I just documented days ago. And he is doing so with the intent to threaten me while I'm in this environment. And he is aware of what it is that I'm documenting. The entity is engaging in federal stalking. So C. Torres that kidnapped me on May 29th, stalking me and maintaining what is a malicious guise of being a legitimate law enforcement officer, wearing badge number 21370, is under this fake sun at 2:47 p.m. where the people of the state are engaging in this violence with him, in concert with him, where the fake sun is at 9 hours over this venue. I'm capturing it inside of this venue at 6 o'clock in the morning. C. Torres is a demon. He is also engaged in domestic terrorism, and he committed kidnapping, as surely as he is also documented inside of this venue, sharing criminal presence and psychopathic means of activity creation in this environment. And C. Torres is inflicting harm while the people of the state are engaged in the criminal bidding of this corrupt police department, this demon-possessed agency that's engaged in terrorism and psychological torture, engaged in criminal surveillance of a satanic nature, in furtherance of murdering and kidnapping me. And kidnapping is what he conducted, what he committed in concert with the Ontario Police on May 29, 2025. He is going to federal prison, and so is his partner, El Martinez. They were operating vehicle number 1118, license 1697625, where at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the entity is keeping the fake sun over me, like I'm documenting in this document, which I will publish, with regard to the entity keeping the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments, where right now it's on video over my head in its zenith at the Starbucks in Ontario at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where, by the way, it's remaining visible, meaning not moving, 9 hours earlier. And it is currently 3 o'clock when I'm capturing this video today. And the entity is keeping the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments at 3:04 p.m. as I documented on April 8, 2025, where they are flying over the top of my head, just like they are here at Starbucks, while the fake sun sits 9 hours over this venue, where the entity is clearly targeting. And the entity is also clearly targeting when I'm on the venue of the internet, publishing their criminal conduct. And the entity is targeting with the satanic means of stalking with light, which is an unlawful threat and psychological torture upon gang stalking and federal stalking. And the entity is doing so with the intent to obstruct justice while they're all catching cases, which is relevant for federal prison, for federal stalking. The impossible light is it is axiomatic. You're being prosecuted for federal stalking, but the entity is engaging in what is gang stalking. And so this is the government that's literally stalking you, keeping you under surveillance, following you from place to place while it is monitoring you. And monitoring is done with that population that you see inside of the Starbucks under a 9 hour plus 9 hour fake sun, and they're like laughing and laughing it up, ha ha ha, like it's the funniest thing ever. These are psychopaths and these are demons that are also violent sex offenders, raging psychopaths who are failing at appearing as anything other than the demons that they are in a cartoon environment. There is no way to conduct yourself and look normal under the fake sun and in that engineer light. And it is notable that C. Torres is under this fake sun inside of this venue where I'm documenting this inhumane and unconstitutional maintenance of surveillance by the city of Ontario. The gang stalkers themselves being documented while I'm subject to this escalated form of stalking with light. And the license plates that I'm documenting, they're all going to be prosecuted. But this venue, the people of the state, and the kidnappers themselves are subject to what is prison for engaging in kidnapping on May 29, 2025. The entity that is psychopathic, that is, again, very mentally disturbed, relies on things such as throwing light around. And this is what they rely on, and it's not stopping the documentation, it's not stopping publishing of the documentation, and it's certainly not stopping a very real federal case against the government and against the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government. I document you, I document the business. Your information, your personal information is not a mystery, and it's also not going to remain a mystery with regard to prosecuting the entire entity and all the details that are inherent to gang stalking through a corrupt population that are acting with the gang stalkers who are the Ontario Police Department. The very criminal conduct that I'm subject to in Starbucks is evidence against the Ontario Police Department. That is gang stalking while it is underway and gang stalking by it, relying on it, okay? And that's the basis of disbanding them altogether. It is currently 3:36 p.m. This is P.O.C. The entity is engaging with a stalking inside of the cafe. The entity is engaging with a stalking above the cafe in the sky space, as the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police Department have demonstrated. And the entity is gang stalking all around the cafe while the entity is stalking with light, impossible light, in doing so with the intent to psychologically harm, harass, terrorize, obstruct justice. That is deter documenting. So throwing light is going to stop me from documenting. No, you're going to federal prison for that. The entity is gang stalking, and gang stalking is done in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And kidnapping is the offense that was committed as an entity on May 29, 2025. And as that federal offense is documented and for publishing, the entity is still inflicting ongoing harms pursuant to ceaseless gang stalking, which is exactly what the Ontario Police Department were engaging in on May 29th. They are going to federal prison, and the Ontario Police is being disbanded for the threat to the public that it is demonstrating that it is, while the people of the state are gang stalking in the city of Ontario with the government. It's June 15, 2025. It's 3:37 p.m. and the fake sun is at 9 hours over the same address. And the LAPD is gang stalking, and it is the prosecution of the state, while the LAPD shares the specific environment, not the natural environment, where the sun could be over me there and remaining here, where the sun would be over me there for the duration of the day and here in this building for the duration of the day. Neither are the natural environment. Both are the demonstration of the crime scene where the government is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a satanic targeting system, and the demon-possessed are engaging in it. And the demon-possessed are the LAPD and the Ontario PD, and they will be prosecuted accordingly. It is currently 3:37 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, the entity that has the fake sun over the same entrance it was over this morning, it's 5:43 p.m., is indeed monitoring my vagina. All of the city of Ontario is, including the Ontario Police Department. That's amplified audible activity under a fake sun over the same Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California. All right, the following are engaged in bathroom monitoring, which is the egregious sex offense, the perpetual sex offense committed by a government that's gang stalking with all of a population. It's an unprecedented and egregiously sexually violent pattern of conduct. While buying a drink, monitoring my vagina under the fake sun, license 8MHP263, license 9AML785, license 9PHB762. License 8LWU440. In case I did not read this one already, 5HKF011 8YAS326. And I already read this paper plate. It may very well be one of the sex offenders that work here. It's a paper plate, NH85237. And NMKB686, 8WPY676, because, yeah, I read that one. All right, the fake sun is over the entrance. You'll see it captured in an image, a picture. Yesterday, for example, LAPD is gang stalking me in Los Angeles, where I'm documenting the specific environment where I'm subject to surveillance. And this is the entity that committed a kidnapping. And the entity is obsessed with your genitalia. They're stalking you in bathrooms. And where you see the fake sun, where you see the people of the state stalking in traffic and impossible light is swimming all inside of the venue. Where you see the drive-through window, where the impossible light is all over the wall on the inside of the cafe. First of all, that's the people of the state threatening you. They're monitoring you, and they're also monitoring my vagina between my legs. And that's a prosecution for the sex offense. All right, and they do so with impunity. They do so while they are also obsessively engaged in what is gang stalking with the government. And so that's what's documented right now. Bathroom monitoring while impossible light fills the venue. I'll show you some images. Well, actually, I want all this information, but... All right, you will see tracks of impossible light on the ceiling above the drive-through window. You'll see my shadow appearing out of nowhere on the wall. You're looking at iterations of terrorism while demons are stalking with light inside of the cafe under the fake sun at 5 p.m. So 6 a.m. the fake sun is here and I'm here. The entity monitoring my vagina and maintaining relevant positioning. The entity engaging in stalking with light on the inside of the cafe, which is again, inside of the cafe is a picture of what the entire state is doing. No matter what city you go in, the fake sun remains. The engineer light is all over everything. It's not sunlight on the inside of the cafe. It's not sunlight all over the land outside where the fake sun sat over this building today for over 11 hours. It's 5 p.m. So you're understanding what's Starbucks is doing inside of this cafe. The engineer light that's on a trail on the ceiling is not coming from inside of the, it's not coming from outside into the drive-through. Onto the ceiling, there's an extensive thick covering over the drive-through window as well. That's not sunlight. That's coming from the sun above, outside, at a downward trajectory, doing gymnastics over that extensive cover, and then into the window, onto the wall, and onto the that's not sunlight. It's entirely demonic. It's supernatural light that is remaining everywhere, speaking to the demonic spirits, which is also inspiring demonic behavior such as pacing, and the demonic environment such as a sun sitting over a building for 12 hours, such as amplified audible activity that is louder than it naturally is, and the entities engaging in what is the satanic means of recognizing who is being targeted, and that is myself in this environment at Starbucks. And what's happening in Starbucks is letting you know what's happening outside when you are surrounded by a specific environment, not a natural environment. And the entity is doing so while they are admittedly engaging, Starbucks, the company, admittedly engaging in a sex offense, the employees admittedly engaging in monitoring my vagina, and also engaging in federal stalking pursuant to that sexually violent pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in this while I am documenting the kidnapping that it also engaged in. And so it's currently 5:48 p.m. For the duration of the day, the entity, as I'm upon entrance, you're looking at the demons of the Starbucks employees, personnel. She is at 6 in the morning under the fake sun that's at the same address right now after 5, and as all of them are stalking while simultaneously preparing drinks for a corrupt company that's engaging in gang stalking simultaneously. And so this is documentation of what is ceaseless psychological torture, as the entity is going to be prosecuted for that. I'm documenting the entity that's engaging in what is ongoing psychological torture, also with the intent to obstruct justice, and it is on behalf of a kidnapping police department that is relying on the criminal engagement in that pattern of conduct, and Starbucks is also simultaneously profiting from it. Starbucks is acting with every third party that I document by license plate. Starbucks is acting with the entire city, because I'm not going to go around and get 3 million license plates and addresses, and you don't have to. The pattern of conduct is established, and the population, the state, is going to be prosecuted for it. But I did document people by license plate, and they are subject to a prosecution, and it is for federal stalking. That's a federal case, in addition to what is gang stalking. Understand the entities engaging in what is the impermissible threat by engaging in surveillance inside of the cafe on behalf of the government. And they're doing so while they have committed multiple kidnappings as of late in May of 2025, and they're engaging in ongoing ceaseless psychological torture today, pursuant to what is retaliatory conduct, as I'm documenting very damning evidence, and they try to fling light and stop me. But you're looking at the podcast that you will not be able to miss it. So I put it in a manner where they cannot remove it. So even if they try to make something private, it will still be there on YouTube. The entity is retaliating with okay, evidence that I'm going to prosecute you for, you're going to prison, and I'm going to prosecute Starbucks for unprecedented conduct, uncharacteristic of what it is explaining or representing itself as being about. This is evidence that's directly contradicting how Starbucks represents itself in the media, and Starbucks employees and those that are patrons of Starbucks, while they're engaging in the sex offense of gang stalking, while they're engaging in the war tactics of psychological torture for no legitimate reason whatsoever, but because they are demons, which again, Starbucks is associated with Satanism, while they're engaging in criminal activity, all right, in the state of California at that. But this is a documentation of a point at arrival. Ceaseless psychological torture, ceaseless harassment, terrorism with impossible light. And these are demons that are hostile as an entity because of the body of evidence that I published, that slinging light doesn't stop me from publishing, and it's certainly not going to stop them going to prison and getting that sex offense for federal group stalking and monitoring, because that's exactly how it's going to be on the record for domestic terrorism. All right, not an average sex offender that's on the Megan's list and you can go about your life. They're going to be prosecuted as terrorists, as those committing the sex offense of that terrorist act of gang stalking with the government, and it's a public entity that's prosecuted accordingly. So I want to make sure that I document that. Those license plates represent those that are together corporately monitoring my vagina, and it includes Chevron, that's in relevant position. It includes ARCO, that's a relevant position, the medical center, Unicare, Community Health Center. They're gang stalking demons in the medical field, just like Arrowhead Regional Medical Center. The entity is maintaining through the people of the state that are all around in relevant position, where all of the environment is deprived of the sun, because the sun in a natural environment stayed over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue for over 12 hours today. And that is the asinine and clear, plain, and obvious admission even. It's to the level of being an admission, the level of obvious engagement in a pattern of conduct that is also supernatural. This is prosecuting the Ontario Police Department inherently. So the entity is doing so, again, while obsessed with my vagina, so I want to make sure that that's clear. The entity is engaging in that sex offense monitoring in the bathroom, which they're always doing, in that impossible light, in concert with the population that is enthusiastically and determined, obsessed with making sure that they take their turns to stalk in the path, to engage in surveillance in the cafe, to engage in what is harassment and terrorism together as an entity. And they're exhibiting shared mental illness. These are psychopaths that practice the system, which is statewide, and it's government conduct. So this is speaking to, again, the inhumanity of the American government, of the state, of the government in California, but this is what the United States government is engaging in. That's why you have a fake sun over you in whatever state that you're in, because it's not the natural environment. We're not under the same light source that I just documented over 507 North Euclid Avenue, and I just took a picture of it at 5 o'clock. And my vagina is under surveillance when I'm in the bathroom, and everyone is aware the moment that I pull my pants down, what's going on in between my legs, what's going on in there, and the entity has nothing other than a sexual appetite for perversion and engaging in what is monitoring. And it's tied into and tethered to the commercial business of Starbucks and every other business where the same pattern of conduct would be underway. All right, and that's the government that's gang stalking with the people of the state. All right, it is terrorism, and it is it's domestic terrorism, and it is psychological torture, and it's also severely demented. So the pattern of conduct, the criminal conduct, is that which is also used to diagnose. As I'm taking pictures of the fake sun, again, relevant to the ongoing ceaseless psychological torture that I documented today, as I document that impossible light, the demons are engaging what is following me as I walk through the cafe. Then that engineered light that you can see captured in the image, then it's appearing in alignment with me so that I could see my shadow in front of me while I'm walking in. That's a psychological torture tactic that the entity is being prosecuted for every single license plate that I documented, sharing in what is federal stalking, sharing in what is a sex offense of molestation with impossible light, sharing in what is psychological torture, terrorism, and harassment of a federal nature by the government that's gang stalking you. They're all sharing in what is the perpetual sex offense, monitoring my vagina, while they're just coming in and taking shifts with regard to pacing around like psychopaths into the bathroom to stalk, cross path, go behind me and stand in the bathroom, engaging in surveillance, fiddling with their communication devices, and then walking out back and forth and back and forth and back and forth all day long under the fake sun that set over the building for 12 hours. Okay, the entity is engaging in this psychopathic pattern of conduct is relevant to the prosecution of the state. It's exactly what happened at Capital Management. Daryl J. Carter is engaging in while the fake sun remained over Woodside Senior Apartment, specifically over Tracy Banks' apartment, where the Ontario Police Department engaged in the ongoing, very heavily documented campaign of flying in circles, demonstrating mental illness as they are pacing in helicopters while that fake sun set over that apartment building from sunrise until sunset. And this grand departure from that supernatural event is the pattern of conduct, recognizing that all of a state is targeting one person. And they're also targeting that person's genitalia. So do not miss that sexual violence, because that's exactly what is going to be honed in on when the entity is prosecuted in federal court for the sex offense of gang stalking. All right, the entity at 5:55 p.m. So it's after 5 p.m. where the entity has the fake sun over the same front entrance, where demons are engaging in, the demon possessed are engaging in what is this gang stalking system, and doing so while there multiple kidnappings are being detailed, additional one on May 29th. And again, Nathan Morgan of the Ontario Police Department is a part of a terrorist organization, and he is stalking, he's stalking now. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking now, and he was gang stalking on May 29, 2025. He's going to federal prison for that. And this criminal pattern of conduct where the fake sun sits over Starbucks for 13 hours, it is the evidence that is, in addition to Ontario Police Department's pattern of stalking me in helicopters all over the city, day and night, under the fake sun during the day and the fake moon at night, amongst impossible light activity, just like you see inside of Starbucks at nightfall, while the demon-possessed that are gang stalking at Starbucks are at nightfall stalking as a community as well, engaging in what is criminal surveillance and ongoing sexual violence, stalking with light, touching all over you with light, like maniacs that are unhinged with regard to their demonic campaign of always trying to follow you around with light shining their demons and their stalkers. They're engaged in monitoring though. So I just want to be clear that this is what the entity is doing, and you will see this engineer light inside of Starbucks. You'll see the fake sun over Starbucks, and it's 5:56 p.m. where this over 12 hours of fake sun remaining P.O.C. is underway. It is again 5:56 p.m. on Sunday, June 15, 2025. And the entity is engaging in what is keeping the fake sun over me, while LAPD is gang stalking as well, which is the pattern of conduct in a manner that is impossible to manufacture myself and have that consistent body of evidence. This is the prosecution of the state. The entity that is psychopathic engages in more harassment and psychological torture out of literally desperate acts. It's as though they are thinking that something is just going to miraculously happen. The evidence is going to disappear. No one's ever going to hear about it, and they're not going to federal prison. They're not going to be prosecuted because they're in the cafe engaging in psychological torture while I'm publishing the additional kidnapping that the entity committed. This is the lack of rational thinking and behavior and decision-making skills and criminal and corrupt conduct of the demon-possessed, who are a national security threat, terrorizing American citizens, conspiring their murder and kidnapping to steal from them, from profiting off of their demise, from lying on their character. And these are the ones that are sitting around stalking all day long, planning out their day around gang stalking. All right, it is currently again 5:58 p.m. and this is P.O.C.